They say hallucinations are just tricks of the mind, but I've seen things, shapes, shadows that other people see too. No matter where they're from, no matter who they are. It's like something shared, something alive. I don't know if it's inside us or something else entirely, but it's always there, waiting. Tier 1. Surface level entities. These are the common ones, the ones most people report when their senses start to drift. You'll find them during sleep paralysis, drug-induced delirium, or long periods without rest. They're entities that sit just outside the spotlight of your awareness until you notice them. Shadow people. Dark, human-shaped silhouettes that drift through peripheral vision or stand in corners. They're not detailed, they're more like holes cut out of reality, humanoid voids. Common during sleep paralysis or stimulant binges or extreme exhaustion. Some experience them after days without sleep, others while isolated in dark, quiet rooms. Reports stretch back centuries. The folklore describes them as dark watchers or night demons with strikingly similar behavior. Some theories suggest they're a byproduct of the brain misfiring in low light or high-stress states. Others wonder if they're archetypal or something else entirely. I personally experienced them not necessarily in a dark room, but a quiet room. The lights could be completely on, but you see them out of the corner of your eye, and the moment you look at them, they dart away. Sometimes they don't. The roommate. You're not alone. You swear someone else is in the room. You talk to them sometimes for minutes at a time. They seem familiar even if you don't recognize them. Then you blink or turn away and they're gone. This is one of the most reported hallucinations on diphenhydramine, DPH, a deliriant known for convincing full-spectrum false realities. But it's not always drug-induced. Sleep deprivation and fever can produce the same effect, fully formed people who don't exist. Many think the brain is simulating social contact, fabricating a person just to ease loneliness. But others say these visitors feel too real, too purposeful to be just that. The man in the doorway. A motionless silhouette standing in a doorway or at the edge of a room. He doesn't move, he doesn't speak, but you feel him. Often seen during sleep paralysis or deliriant episodes, he's considered one of the more universally disturbing figures due to how still and human he feels. He might be related to the Hat Man in later tiers, or he might be something else entirely. Some describe him as a watcher, others as a kind of guardian, or even a warning. What's most chilling is that he doesn't act, he waits. Talking walls. In the quiet, in the dark, the walls start to speak, not clearly. Whispers, murmurs, fragments of language. Sometimes they argue, sometimes they repeat your name. Seen on deliriants like DPH, but also during cannabis overuse, sensory deprivation, or episodes of psychosis. The brain is wired to find patterns in noise, but sometimes it finds voices, especially when you're alone, especially when it's silent. These whispers can be terrifying or comforting. They might make you feel watched or listened to. The Nox helicopter. A strange and mechanical sound, spinning blades like a helicopter hovering nearby. It's almost always auditory, but sometimes people report feeling it descend, or lift them. Reports most commonly with nitrous oxide during heavy or repeated use. The noise loops, rotates, grows louder, and some feel that they're being abducted. Some describe this as part of the machine realm, where noise becomes presence and presence becomes entity. Whether it's the brain filling in sensory gaps or something stranger, the Nox helicopter tends to appear at the edge of euphoria, or panic. Tier 2. Deeper entities. These aren't just fleeting shadows or background noise. These are the ones that show up again and again, across cultures, across substances, across time. The kinds of entities that carry names that people remember, that people sometimes go looking for. The Hat Man. Tall, faceless, dressed in black, always with a wide-brimmed hat. He's one of the most universally recognized hallucinated figures in modern lore. People report him during sleep paralysis, during diphenhydramine, DPH, delirium, during benzodiazepine withdrawal, during meth psychosis, and in complete sobriety. During intense fear or trauma in some cases. What makes him different from a generic shadow figure is how deliberate he feels. He watches, stands at the foot of the bed, in the doorway, in the corner. Some people say he radiates malice, others say he just observes, but nearly all agree. When you see him, you remember. I've seen the shadow figures, but I haven't seen the Hat Man yet. Yet. Machine elves. Vibrant, alien, geometrically impossible beings. Reported most famously on DMT, especially during breakthrough doses where users feel launched out of the physical world into something else entirely. The elves move fast, they laugh, mock, welcome, or ignore you. They build things out of sound and thought. First popularized by Terence McKenna, who believed they might be independent intelligences, not hallucinations but encounters. Whether they're real or not, they have become a cornerstone of psychonaut lore. Some call them guides, some call them jesters, others call them gatekeepers. Opium bird. A quiet presence, a dreamlike bird. Large or small, sometimes perched, sometimes flying overhead, most often seen in opium or heroin nods, the strange half-sleep where dreams and reality blur. It may speak in riddles or not at all. Sometimes it simply watches. Historically, people reported visions of birds while under the effects of laudanum or morphine, elegant surreal creatures hovering just beyond the edge of clarity. Some associate it with peace, others with death. It doesn't always stay long, but when it lands, everything gets quiet. Cigarette guy. He shows up in a strange place, maybe the corner of your room, maybe outside your house. He lights a cigarette, offers you one. You take it, you smoke it. Later you realize there was never anyone there. Seen most often on diphenhydramine, DPH yet again, where hallucinated people can be so convincing that you carry out full conversations complete with sensory details. What makes Cigarette Guy stand out is how normal he feels. He's not a monster, not a threat, just a guy. And maybe that's what makes him eerie. But because he's too normal. Like he's been here before. Ceiling crawlers. You look up and they're already there. Crawling, scuttling, hanging upside down, sometimes watching, sometimes coming closer. These figures appear during heavy delirium use, especially DPH, datura, and long-form methamphetamine use. They might look like spiders, sometimes like children, other times unidentifiable shapes with too many limbs or no face at all. People report feeling dread, sometimes paralysis. The ceiling becomes a stage, and what's on it is never kind. I've actually seen these before. They were spiders for me. Spiders crawling around on the roof. I've seen them on the floor too, so I have floor crawlers, yeah. Mannequin people. They look like humans. From far away, they almost pass. But when you get closer, something's wrong. No faces, plastic skin, frozen postures. Seen in schizophrenia, DPH, delirium, and occasionally during fevers or dissociation. They often appear in public spaces, standing still, facing away, as if pretending to be real. Some people see them just standing in rooms. Others find them watching from the windows. They don't move. But you get the sense they could. The librarian. Usually found in a vast dreamlike space, a library, archive, or record hall. Endless shelves, books you can't read, languages that you don't recognize. The librarian waits there. Calm, neutral, sometimes helpful, sometimes silent. Seen in dissociative states, especially on ketamine or DXM, or even in near-death experiences. People say the librarian might hand you a book. Sometimes it contains your memories, sometimes it's blank. It's one of the few hallucinated entities that feels orderly. Not chaotic, not hostile, just ancient and busy. Tier 3, recurring phantoms. These are entities that you don't always see at first. You hear them, you sense them. Then they step out from a hallway, a mirror, a ripple in your perception, and you realize they've been there the whole time. Jesters, they laugh first, not a normal laugh, a fractal laugh, a laugh that folds in on itself and reflects forever. Jesters appear during intense psychedelic trips, especially with DMT, LSD, and psilocybin. They're trickster entities, chaotic, mischievous, and often mocking. Some users describe them as helpful. Others say they toy with you. They twist their own faces, split into multiple versions of themselves, or perform rituals you're not allowed to understand. Like cosmic clowns, they're in a theater built from your subconscious. They know you're hallucinating, and they're having fun with it. Doppelgangers. You see yourself, standing just down the hallway, or sitting across from you, blinking in perfect sync. Sometimes they speak, sometimes they just stare. Doppelgangers show up during extreme sleep deprivation, high DPH states, and in rare neurological conditions. It's more than just seeing a mirror image. It's the sense that there's another you. They might imitate your movements, or start moving before you do. The longer you look at them, the more convincing they become. And eventually you start to wonder, which one of you is the copy? Hellhounds. Heavy breathing, claws scraping tile. Then the eyes. Blacker than shadow, glowing faintly, sometimes red, sometimes glassy. Hellhounds are seen during stimulant psychosis, especially with meth or during DPH delirium. People report being chased, hunted. Sometimes the dogs never attack, they just follow, endlessly, always just out of view. Others describe them as silent figures, waiting at the end of dark hallways, blocking paths or doorways. Even in cases where they don't appear visually, many report hearing them, panting, pacing, growling low in the dark. You don't have to see them to know they're there. The soft lady. A gentle touch on your hair, a whisper in your ear. Not threatening, comforting, almost motherly. The soft lady often appears in opioid states, especially during morphine or heroin nods, but sometimes in your dreams following deep emotional exhaustion. She sits near your bed or lies beside you, or places a hand on your chest. She doesn't speak much, but when she does, her voice is low and slow, like speech underwater. Some call her the opioid muse. Others call her the dream mother. She is warmth, she is sleep. But if you try to look directly at her, she disappears. I could use a soft lady in my life. The laughing light, a flickering glow at the edge of your vision. It pulses with rhythm. When you look at it, it laughs, not a sound but a feeling. The laughing light is a rarely seen entity during high-dose cannabis, LSD, or meditative states where the ego starts to dissolve. Sometimes it's described as a hovering orb, other times as a humanoid made of radiance and motion. It doesn't speak, but its presence is unmistakable, amused, playful, a little condescending. It knows you're confused, it finds it funny. It's not evil, just above you, like a teacher who enjoys your mistakes. The TV people. You hear static before you see them, then voices, looped phrases, strange laughter, and finally figures trapped in the rhythm of a sitcom that doesn't exist. The TV people show up in severe DPH trips, stimulant psychosis, and occasionally in early schizophrenic episodes. Their movements are unnatural, as if badly animated or rendered with the wrong frame rate. They act out scenes, repeated conversations, argue with people who aren't there. Sometimes you become a part of the show. But the laugh track never matches the moment, and the smile never reaches their eyes. Tier 4. Complex or abstract beings. These aren't just hallucinations. They're symbols, systems, structures. Some feel mechanical, others divine, but all of them leave you questioning what they really are. Are they parts of your brain, fragments of other worlds, or something that's always been there, waiting for your perception to fall apart? Clockwork beings. They click, tick, rotate, insectoid, metallic, fractal. Clockwork beings often appear during DMT, LSD, or dissociative trips like ketamine. Many describe them as builders, creatures assembling or repairing the fabric of the trip itself. They move with perfect rhythm, sometimes in unison, sometimes chaotically. Faces can be hard to find, limbs fold into gears. Some users report feeling like these entities are repairing them. Others believe they are just maintaining a machine too vast to comprehend. Not hostile, not friendly, just busy. Cheshire grin. A mouth appears first, too wide, then eyes maybe. Or maybe just the sense of being seen. The Cheshire grin is not a person. It's an expression detached from logic. It floats in space, flickers on the walls. Shows up during intense LSD, DMT, or deep sleep deprivation. Some see it in mirrors, others see it in themselves. The smile doesn't move, but it radiates something, mockery, glee, menace. And if you're not sure it's smiling at you, or if you are the punchline. The light being, it doesn't walk, it doesn't speak, it shines. The light being is reported across DMT, psilocybin, and profound, mystical experiences, including near-death states. Usually humanoid, sometimes winged, sometimes just presence. It often radiates overwhelming peace, love, or wisdom. People call it an angel, a god, an ancestor, or simply the one who knows. It rarely speaks in words, it communicates through sensation, thought, emotion. Whether it's real or not, people return changed. The Spiral Man, a figure made of spirals, twisting lines, infinite descent. The Spiral Man is often encountered during opioid dreams, morphine nods, or state where the body drifts into sleep but the mind remains lucid. He hovers near ceilings, or slowly descends beside you as you slip deeper. Not hostile, but uncanny. His form is hard to focus on, always turning, reshaping. Some describe him as a guide, others feel he's simply watching the descent. Like a dream that wants you to go just a little further down. The Grid Keepers, they live behind the world, in the architecture of unreality. Grid Keepers are commonly reported in ketamine, DXM, and other dissociative experiences. They oversee the grid, the structure behind the hallucination. Sometimes humanoid, sometimes abstract, always in control. They may stop you from moving forward, or open doors, or silently observe you as you try to break through. You might see them watching from scaffolding, or working on invisible machines. If the trip is a simulation, they're the moderators. The Clacker. First you hear it. Click, click, click. Behind the walls, in the floorboards, in your head. The clacker starts as an auditory hallucination, a rhythmic mechanical sound during stimulant psychosis, especially high-dose methamphetamine. But it can become embodied. A shadow in the corner, a figure that mimics the sound. Some describe it as skeletal, others say it's invisible, but they can feel it moving. The longer it clacks, the more it knows where you are, and the harder it is to ignore. Tier 5. Deep or symbolic hallucinations. These aren't just entities, they're stories, myths, archetypes that repeat across cultures, substances, and states of consciousness. They show up in rituals, visions, dreams, and psychotic breaks. Not just because you've taken something, but because they're already inside you, waiting. Forest spirits. You're in a forest that doesn't quite exist. Trees breathe, the ground pulses, and something's watching. Forest spirits are often encountered on ayahuasca, mescaline, or high-dose psilocybin. They appear as intelligent animals, humanoid plants, or beings made of vines, bark, and eyes. They don't always speak, but they know you're there. Some users say they feel judged, others healed. They might play, they might teach, they might show you the part of yourself that forgot how to listen to the wild. The Tall Man. He doesn't move, but he's always closer than you remember. The Tall Man appears during sleep paralysis, DPH trips, and even without substances, especially in episodes of night terror. His body is too long, limbs impossibly thin, always standing, watching, waiting. Often seen in doorways, corners, or just outside a window. Unlike the Hat Man, the Tall Man has no face, no clear agenda. He just is. His presence is heavy, like gravity. DPH spiders. You feel them before you see them. On your arms, your legs, beneath your skin. A crawling, a scratching. DPH spiders are one of the most common formication hallucinations. A sensation of bugs crawling on or under the skin. Most often during high-dose diphenhydramine use, or DPH. At first it's just a feeling. Then the shadows move. Then you see them. Black spindly. Dozens of them. Skittering across the room. Across your chest. Across your face. You swat. Nothing's there. Until they come back again. I've never done DPH, but this is also one that I've experienced. Multiple times actually. Pretty uncomfortable. The chrysanthemum entity. You fall through a tunnel of color. And then you stop. Before you. Something floral. Radiant. A chrysanthemum, not a flower, a being. The chrysanthemum entity appears on the threshold of DMT breakthrough space, often seen as a guardian or gate. It spins, blooms, breathes, layered in fractals pulsing with light and sound. Some feel awe, some feel fear, some never get past it. Terence McKenna spoke of this threshold as the veil, a place you must pass through to reach them, whatever is beyond. The Cosmic Mother. You're cradled. Not physically, but completely. She holds everything. Time, pain, you. Cosmic Mother is an ancient presence found across cultures and altered states, often encountered on psilocybin, DMT, or ayahuasca. She may appear as a vast, star-filled woman, a mother made of vines, a voice inside your own heartbeat. She teaches without speaking. She forgives without asking. She might show you your childhood, or what it feels like to die. And somehow both are okay. Serpent beings. They don't slither, they flow. Serpents made of light, pattern, sound. These entities are most often reported in ayahuasca ceremonies, and they're revered in Amazonian shamanic traditions. Sometimes they wind through your body, unblocking pain. Sometimes they coil around you, protective. Sometimes they test you. Serpents have long been symbols of rebirth, medicine, and knowledge, and in visionary states they act as teachers. They may hiss, speak, sing. But when they look at you, you feel very small. The man with no hands. You see him sitting, or standing, or reaching. Always reaching. But there are no hands. The man with no hands is reported in DPH states, sleep deprivation, and some forms of grief hallucination. He appears familiar, sometimes like a father figure, sometimes a stranger, but something about him feels broken, incomplete. He might try to touch you, might try to speak, but he can't. You feel sorry for him, or maybe for what part of you he represents. Tier 6, archetypal and obscure entities. These are the ones we don't talk about often. Some are ancient, appearing in folklore, nightmares, and old paintings. Others feel alien, unreplaceable, but they're watching. They always were. The old woman. You wake up, but you can't move. She's there, sitting on your chest or standing near the bed. The old woman, also known as the night hag, is one of the oldest reported hallucination entities in human history. Found in cultures across the world, and she often appears during sleep paralysis, sometimes following long periods of stress or isolation. Her face is wrinkled or melted, or hidden beneath long hair. She doesn't speak, she doesn't need to. You can't scream. All you can do is wait. Architects, you're not dreaming. You're inside a blueprint, and they're building it. The architects are highly intelligent, often geometric entities seen in the deepest reaches of DMT, LSD, or ketamine states. They don't always notice you. They're busy adjusting space, weaving reality, shifting the framework of perception. When they do notice you, it's with curiosity or warning. They might show you how this reality fits together, or that it was never real to begin with. The Watchers. They never move, but you feel them, watching. From the ceiling, from the corners, from behind your own eyes. These entities appear in salvia states, DMT, lucid dreams, and high anxiety sleep paralysis episodes. They never interfere, just observe. Some describe them as glowing figures. Others are shadows that shift when you're not looking. You might feel like you're a part of a test, a broadcast, or a very old conversation you were never supposed to hear. The Curtain People. You see movement, just behind the curtain. When you look, they're gone. The Curtain People are elusive, shadowy forms, often seen on deliriums like DPH or Datura, and occasionally during psychotic breaks. They peek, whisper, and shift. They don't want to be seen, and you never see them directly, but you know they're there. Some users describe them as caretakers, others as intruders, but always just slightly out of reach. From all of this, I believe there's quite the lesson that we can take away. If you don't want to see what you're not ready for, don't do drugs.